is being recorded. So I've just started recording on this session. And this morning, what we're really going to be speaking about is how to market your listings. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start sharing my screen with you. I am going to scroll in a little bit to make it a little larger, and we will go from there. Good morning to Gary, Joelle, Vicki, Debbie, Heather, Kathy, Kelly, Kim, Margaret, and Annette. Thanks for typing in that chat box. For those of you that didn't type in that chat box, good morning to you as well. The more questions you ask, the easier it is for me to make sure you're getting what you need out of this webinar. And without further ado, let's talk about marketing your listings and a little bit about marketing yourself as well. Good morning, Karen. So as we're talking about listings and as we're going into traditionally what is the off season for most of us in the country, there are a few markets that don't have a winter off market. But for the majority of us heading into the fall and the holiday season, the market usually slows down. Where are y'all from too? Because that will help me know a little bit more about you and where you're located. It is important that you are starting to pitch your marketing plan to your contacts before you actually start marketing that listing. So when you're going to the listing appointment, you should be talking about what your marketing plan looks like. The importance of not just advertising a listing, but really coming up with a comprehensive plan that involves using the mailer system, using open houses, promoting the listing online, as well as sharing it through social media channels is really important. Awesome. Everybody's from all over the place. I hope y'all are looking in that chat box because we've got people from Dallas to Colorado to East Tennessee to Pennsylvania on the call today. And Michigan. I'm actually in North Idaho, so I'm in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So we're really covering the gauntlet here. So how do you pitch yourself at a listing, and how can you use your IQ office to pitch yourself at a listing? Because essentially all of us, if we were to put all of us in the room, all 21 of us, 22 of us, and we were to talk about pricing a home, and we were given all the same information about the home, we would come up with a price range that was within probably $5,000 to $10,000 of each other, correct? Do you all agree with that statement? That when it comes to pricing, generally speaking, if you're good at your job as a real estate agent, we are all coming up with very similar pricing. Awesome. So how do you differentiate yourself at the listing appointment to that potential client so that you're getting the listing from the start? And there's a few things I want to talk about today that allow you to do that. The first one we're going to really dive into is action plans, because the listing action plans that you can set up for yourself, or if you're an admin, you can set up for your company, become really important when you're working a plan. So how many of you have a checklist? Once I take a listing, I do this. I order the photos be taken, I make sure the sign is installed, I add the seller to a drip campaign, I set up my seller reports, I set up my open houses, I get my flyers printed. How many of you have that checklist of items that you do once you take a listing? And know that typically speaking, this answer is a grab bag. So a lot of times I get a lot of people on the call that say no. A lot of times I get a lot of people on the webinar that say yes. And I like Rhonda's answer, sort of. So I love checklists. I'm a checklist person. If y'all could see my desk right now, you would see that I have like 3 checklists going: my immediate to-do today checklist, my weekly checklist, my monthly checklist, and then I have a list of goals that I work from too. So in that, there's been a lot of research done about people who write things down are 60% more likely to achieve them. They also are 70% more likely to be higher achieving, because as you check things off your list, you gain this sense of accomplishment or completeness, and you tend to continue to move forward. So that's my pitch about writing things down. Here's where you can go in IQ to write those down, 1,000 pieces of paper. Underneath tools and preferences on the left-hand side, there's this section called My Action Plans. And when you think of an action plan for a listing, I want you to think about a marketing plan beyond advertising. What are all the things you need to do for a listing? And how do you move from a no or a sort of to a, yep, I know what I'm doing. So when I go into that listing appointment, I can talk about my plan with the client. To start a new plan, you click on the plus new button in the upper right-hand corner, and then you're going to name your action plan. So your action plan might be different for a luxury property than it would be for a farm and ranch property, than it would be for a condo property, and that's okay. You can make as many of these as you would like. We're just going to make a new resale listing checklist today. And we're going to go through all the items that are in it, because that really allows you to see all the comprehensive tools that are in that marketing plan. Underneath action plan type, you're going to choose listings. Now, how many admins do I have on the call today? I believe Annette and Margaret, you are both admins, right? And Lisa, awesome. So if you're an admin and you're setting these up for your office, you're going to do everything the same that we're doing today, but you're going to go to admin. And then underneath the admin, under manage content, there's a section called action plans there. And that's where you go to set them up for your office. So once you're in that admin action plans, manage content, you can set these up for your office. If you are an agent and you're setting these up for yourself, you're going to go to tools, preferences, my action plans. Do I have any teams on the call today? If you're a member of a team or you're joining a team, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to know who the master user for your team is. Do you have a team user, or is it the team leader user? And you're going to set your action plans up underneath the main team user. So keep that in mind as well. So once you've created your action plan, we named it, we chose listings action plan, and now we're going to add items to that action plan. Remember, the goal of this is you know what your plan is going into a listing appointment, so you can talk about everything on your plan to your clients. So we're going to add an item. Of the items that you can add, there are a ton of them in this drop down. So automatic system emails, add to campaigns, order marketing items, add the seller, set up showing preferences. They're all available here. What is really nice about an action plan for listings is this. You can choose to have them send to the listing agent. If you have a co-listing agent, you can have them sent to the co-listing agent. You also can send things to the seller. The same thing works for follow-up requests. So is it visible to the seller, yes or no? You can ask that things are required. You choose the time frame that they're done. So as we go through the things that you can add to this plan, this is the pitch at your listing appointment. So if I am doing a listing appointment with Gary in Oklahoma City, I'm going to call Gary. I'm going to say, hey, Gary, we're on for this afternoon. He's going to say yes. Awesome. I get to his house and I say, hey, Gary, thank you so much for having me over to talk about listing your home. I know that moving is a really difficult thing, and I'm really excited to help you through this hard time. And not that it's going to be a hard time selling your home, but moving, even if you have the best agent and a smooth transaction, is difficult. And what I really want to talk to you about today, Gary, is how many agents are you interviewing? And he's probably going to say between 2 and 4. Typically, that's what I find is most people, whether they are or they are not, are interviewing between 2 and 4 agents. That's what they're going to say. And I'm going to say, perfect. So I just want you to know we all really do similar things when it comes to pricing your homes. We're going to look at what has sold in the MLS. We're going to pull some comparable properties. We're going to look at the condition of your home and the location of your home. And we're going to come up with a price that's approximately within $10,000 of each other. And I don't expect that if it came down to just price for your home, that what I do is going to be that different than the other 3 people you interview. What I can tell you is that I do things a little bit different when it comes to marketing your home. And what I'm going to do when I market your home is you're going to get a seller portal. You're going to get a portal that you can log into on my website at any time. It's going to allow you to see all of the information about your listing. It's also going to give you a place where you can go in and you can see the checklist marketing items that I'm working on. So in the action plan, there is a section that says, is this visible to the seller? And you choose yes or no on that. So if you're not going to use that feature, don't pitch to your client that they're going to be able to see it. But if you do want to use that feature, you can say yes. And then as you complete action items, the seller can see that you're working. So the hardest thing about our industry, I really believe, is that consumers don't know how hard we work as agents. They don't know the legwork that goes into building your business, maintaining your business, keeping your listings going, promoting those listings, and that side of it. This visible to seller gives you the ability to show your seller clients how hard you're working for them. So the first thing we're going to do when we take a listing is we are going to add a seller to that listing within our IQ office. That attaches the listing to the person so that they can see those statistics in their portal. So we're going to name this attach seller. And we want that to be due immediately. It's required, and we're going to mark it as visible to seller, yes. Now, what I want to do as we go through all these steps in how to market and what tools are available to you, I want to show you where that works. Are you all good with that? If when I say attach a seller, I go into a listing and I show you where that attachment happens so that the listing is associated, or do you want to do it all at the end? I think doing it probably one at a time makes a little bit more sense from my side of it, so you can see each item and where it works. Okay, perfect. So underneath the listings, we're going to go into that listing dashboard. And there's going to be 2 things I show you right now. I'm going to show you A, how to attach a listing plan, and B, how to attach a seller. So if I scroll down, I'm just going to choose a residential listing. So we'll choose this Croton Creek. And I'm going to open that listing up. I'm going to go to the actions plan. And this is where I can go in and I can add an action plan to the listing. So there's a few in here. There's a new listing action plan. There's a new listing checklist. And then here's that new resale listing checklist that I created. And right now, all it has for items is attach the seller. When I click save, if the action has already been completed, it's automatically going to complete that action. On the main details page, underneath the contact information section, there is a place called seller, and you can start typing that person's name in. So I can say, okay, the seller is Kelsey, or the seller is Layla, and it's going to link to your customer relations tab and find that person if they're in your contacts. If they are not in your contacts, you're going to click the person to the right of the seller and you're going to enter them in. Once you enter them in here, it automatically saves them in your customer relations tab. So any questions there? We opened up a listing. So we found the listing we wanted to work on. We found that seller tab on the main details page, and we started typing that name in. If we didn't have that seller in, we added the contact here by typing in their name and their contact information. If I wanted to attach an action plan, we went over to the actions, We clicked on add an action plan, and then we selected that plan from the list. And then it automatically shows those items. Complete. Here's the seller. And I click complete. You can also search for that person, so I can go in and say, okay, it's Steve. So you can complete that action on the Actions tab. Any questions so far about how to attach your seller? Okay. So then we're going to go back to that tools and preferences and back to my action plans. Are there any questions about how to talk to your seller at the listing appointment about these items and if they're visible in the portal? Does anybody want me to say that again, or do y'all feel good about that? Sandra, that's out of my control. I have a ticket in. When you get the recording of this, it will not be blurry, but I've been working with my provider for these, and they are working on that on their end. Unfortunately, that's not something I have control over at this time. Sorry, but it is something I'm aware of and I'm working on actively. Actually, daily they hear from me. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is we've added the seller to the listing. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to send an automatic system email. And I want to send this to the listing agent and the second listing agent. The reason for that is perhaps you want to make sure that you know when your listing goes live. So there is a listing email that comes out from us as a company. It comes to you, it looks similar to this. Here it is. It says, hey, your listing is live. Congratulations. Here's all the things you can do with it. But if you want to send an email to yourself, you can absolutely do that as well. So you would go in, you say, hey, I'm going to send it to myself. And if there's a co-list, do they get it as well? And I don't want this to be visible to the seller. The item name is your listing is live. And it's due immediately. You're also going to add a subject. And this subject can be just say something like, new listing is live in IQ Office. Below there is a section that says content. And this is where you can go in and you would search for your content. So you click the magnifying glass, it's going to find your content that you've created. And you can select that to put in. Once you select it, you click save. Now, if you have not created the content you want, you're going to do that underneath marketing, my saved content, and you're going to add content here. When you add content, there's some really neat things that you can do. And the first thing that I'm going to show you is just, I'm going to let this open up. So I'm going to say blank content, and we're going to call this the new listing agent email. I'm going to put this in a category called action plan emails. And then I'm going to add content. So up here at the top, there's a drop down. And you can add information like contact first name, property list price, property address. So I can go in and say, hey, this is your auto reminder or your notification that the listing at property address. So if I scroll all the way down here, I can say property address and click select is live. Don't forget to log in and check the MLS details. If you're someone that perhaps your office puts in your listings for you, that would be an example of when you use this email, hey, this is your notification that your listing at this address is live. Don't forget to log in and check that that MLS details is correct. This may be an email that you write to yourself and your co-listing agent just saying, hey, your listing's live, your action plan is attached, just wanted you to have notification. That way you know that things are live. So we're gonna go in, we click save, and again, you click save, and now that's in your saved content. So when you go back to your action plan, you could say, I want to edit this email. I want it to be the new listing email, my content action plans, new listing agent email. And I can click save. Any questions about that? How to attach an email or what it can do for you? Cool. The next thing I want to talk about is ordering your marketing items. So you can say that you need to order your marketing items. These marketing items that you're ordering are marketing items within IQ Office. So I can say just listed postcard. That is going to allow you, when you complete the action, it's going to open up this My Orders section. And it's going to have you start doing your order for those postcards. So now looping back to the conversation you were having with your seller. So remember, I was talking to Gary at the beginning. He was going to list his house with me, and I said, I want to talk about the things that are different. The first thing is you're going to get a portal, and you're going to be able to log in and see the items that I'm working on. He says, awesome. I say, so in that portal, you're going to see when I have ordered your postcards, when I'm sharing things on social media, when I've attached your videos that are done, when I'm scheduling open houses. And you're going to have access to that, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. So I can go in, I'm going to say, I want to do a just listed postcard. And I'm going to choose this orange just listed postcard. This walks you through a wizard that allows you to easily order postcards. I can say I need to just select the property. Here it is. And it's going to insert all that information. What I want to show you is how these appear also on your action plan that you've attached. So it puts in that picture. Your neighbor's house was just listed. Photos from the MLS here. I can edit any text that highlights with a pencil. I can edit. And I can save those, or I can save and continue. It will continue to walk you through the wizard. So now I'm attached my seller. I've ordered my postcards. I need to think about sharing things on social media and how that works. There's two ways you can do this. So underneath our listings page, you can manually go in and share things to social media. So I'm going to go back to our Canyon Road, or I think we did Deer Lane. So here's this. Underneath my actions, I can see here that I've added items to this checklist. As you add items, it's not going to update if you've already attached that action plan. You would have to go in and make sure that you were adding those items once the action plan was complete. On the main screen, so when I'm on my main listing screen, to share it on social media, I can click on the actions button, and it's going to have this Be Social setting here on the right-hand side. And I can easily tweet, put on Facebook, put on Pinterest or LinkedIn right from there. I also can, from the main edit screen, I can go in and I can share information here on that listing. However, if I'm really working my plan, I'm going to have those share on social medias as part of my marketing checklist. So I would go into my action plan. I'm going to add social share. I'm going to say, hey, this is a Facebook share, and it is due 1 day after it's listed, or maybe it's 3 days because you're waiting on photos. And I'm going to say visible to seller, yes, save. I can add a bunch of those social shares. So I can say, hey, this is going to be my Instagram post, and I want that to be due 7 days after. And then perhaps I'm going to do a Facebook Live the week after, because I'm out at the house making sure that everything is the right way. So you can add as many of these as you need. Once those are part of the action plan, you can complete those right from that action tab. Violetta has a question. How do we find addresses to order a postcard? Is it built into the IQ Office option? Absolutely. So when you order your postcards and you go to that main postcard screen, it works very similarly to the way that you do flyers. And there's a section, so if I choose a maybe I do a just sold. On the right-hand side, there is a select property link. So right here, it says select property. And when I do that, it actually is going to pull all of the properties from your MLS feed. You can also type in the address up here if you would like, and add it that way. So that's how you add it. You do not have to go searching, saving photos, and doing all that. You can simply just type in the property or scroll through all the properties that are pulling in. Does that answer your question, Violetta? That's a really good question. Perfect. Are there other questions so far on items and adding them to your marketing plan and what the tools are available to you? I just want to make sure I'm giving you an opportunity to ask questions. We're about 30 minutes in. I probably have about 10 more minutes of content. But I do want to make sure I'm answering questions if you've got them. Cool. I'm going to keep going then. So the next thing that I want to show you all is how to set up these seller reports. So I'm going to set up weekly seller reports. And I'm going to have those start 4 days after the listing is active. And I'm going to click save. Now, within the listing, this goes back to the what you need to know about that listing appointment when you're talking to your seller. When you're talking to your seller about things that you're going to do, one of the biggest differentiators is being able to say, hey, Gary, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up automatic reports that get emailed to you so that you can see who's, the web traffic on your listing. If I'm using this system for showings, it can show those showings. It's going to show you how many views you had. It's going to show you the competition that's in the MLS that competes directly with your listing. Because I know that the other 2 to 4 agents that you're interviewing are going to come in here and they're going to say, hey, we have your listing on 18 million different websites, which is awesome. And being on that many websites is great. But the fact of the matter is, if nobody's looking at your listing online, it doesn't matter how many websites it's on. And I want you to see all the traffic that your listing is getting online. Annette, I'm going to come back to your question in just a hot minute. So underneath this report, so we opened up the listing, there's a reports tab at the top here. And when I click this, I can go in and I can set up those reports. The competition, what's the price range for the competition of this house? This one's listed at $465. So we're going to say, hey, we're going to look at everything from $440 to $480. Square foot range, golf course, waterfront, location. You can look by map. You can look by community. On the right-hand side is where you're going to choose your report features, showing your listing details. If you want that showing activity report included, if you want the web activity included, if you want the competition included, and if you want referrals. Referrals are how visitors arrive at the listing. You can also always preview that report. It will show your name in the upper right-hand corner, and it has an overview. So how many referrals? Are they direct? Where are they coming from? What are the search results for the web activity? The last month, what does this actually look like? Then you can also set it up to auto send. So under options, you can say don't send. I want to send it every week. I want to send it every 2 weeks. I want to send it every 4 weeks. So I'm going to say, hey, I want to send this every week and click save. If you would like, you can add yourself as a CC so that it automatically goes out to you as well. These reports will show on the contact screen underneath the communications. So now I've got those seller reports set up so that Steve, my seller, is automatically getting a report once a week from me that shows all the competition that's happening. All of the information about how people are arriving on his listing. And that is awesome because everybody loves statistics. Everybody wants to know about online traffic, but it's a lot of work to do that by yourself, and you don't have to. So on the social media links, Annette had a really good question, and it said, on the social media links, will it link to the company Facebook or the agent's Facebook page? And then what you're going to do, so if I go here and I click on share this on my social media, what it's going to do is it's going to link to my Facebook page. So Annette, if you're sharing this and you want to share it on the company page and you're an admin of that page, you absolutely can. You can share it on a page you manage, and then you would choose the page that you manage that you want to share it on. If you're an agent, you can share it on your page. So it just depends on what Facebook you're logged into. And it can, Annette, you can share it on your company's page. If you're an admin for your agent's page, you can do that as well. And that's a really good question too. So the next question she had is, can the reports just come to the agent and then let the agent forward to the client? The answer to that is no. The reports you can, as an agent, you can choose to be copied on those reports, but you cannot choose to have those reports just sent to you at this time. So it's a tool to be able to be in communication with your sellers, and you can choose to be copied on them. If you as an agent want to go in and take those statistics and edit them and make your own email, you can do that. That's a lot of work though. And so that's a little bit more difficult. And I just got this error. So let me hang tight for just a quick moment here while I message the guys at the help desk to find out why we're getting this screen. Other questions while I'm doing this, while we're taking a quick hiatus? So you can. Yes. So Karen, you are still getting a recording of this. Absolutely. And on the info and the reports, you absolutely can choose what the client sees. So let me see if I can get into the dev site. You can, underneath that listings, you can go in and say, okay, I'm going to look at this listing. And underneath reports, on the right-hand side where it says report features, you choose. So I can say, hey, I only want the listing details to go out. And maybe you only want the listing details and competition to go out. You are selecting here on the, let me make that bigger because the screen is really small. You're on this right-hand side in this column, you're choosing what that report shows just by checking the boxes. So if your company is not using the showing activity report, you don't have to include that in what goes out. Oh yeah, and so Annette says, hey, if I don't like that report, can I choose not to send it? You are choosing to send this or not send this. You can also manually send this if you want. So up here I can say, hey, I don't want to send, I want to manually send this. And then underneath my action plan, what I could do is I could set myself an item that was a follow-up request that repeated every 10 days, and it was manually send report. And now I've got that item in my list. I've got a manually send listing report. I'm gonna have to go in and complete that, but I've got an every 10 days reminder that's going to show up on my main dashboard that I need to do that. Awesome. So the last few things I just want to briefly touch on before we're out of time is are going in, and there's a couple other action plans you need to know about. One are using this to do a website URL, video tour, or virtual tour. So what these three do is they remind you that you need to go in and add to your listings the links for the virtual tours. So you can go in and you can add underneath the media, the virtual video, and if you have a second video tour, so that you're remembering to put that information here as well. And you're not forgetting to attach those to your listings. So that is something that it can also remind you to do. And really the big goal picture of this is when I'm talking to Gary about selling his home, I'm talking about all the things I'm doing in my marketing plan that now include setting up showings so that he gets notifications, setting up reports so he's getting reports of how his listing is doing online, ordering my postcards, sharing on social media, making sure my photos are scheduled, making sure that I am getting an email alert that his listing is live. I have my list that I've created of everything I want to do for a listing, and I've manually imported my marketing list and I'm attaching it to my listing. What's really cool is you can have these automatically attach to new listings when they come in. So you can go in and you can click on your name in the upper right-hand corner. When you do that, you'll go to your profile and you can then go into preferences. Underneath the preferences, if you scroll about halfway down, there's a section that says default action plans. And I can attach the action plan that I just created by searching and selecting it from the list so that any new listing that I take automatically has that action plan attached. I can do the same thing for just reduced. So anytime a reduced property comes in, I can choose that. For the office admins on the call, we are currently in development on allowing you to do this at an office level. So if you have more than one office, you could set a just listed action plan and just reduced action plan per office. And if you have agents in your office who don't want to use those defaults, you'll be able to turn it off for those agents. That will be released by November 1. Other questions? This is a ton of information in about 40 minutes. I know that there are some other features in here that I want to make sure that you know about if you're not using the action plans as far as marketing. If you are using the system, all of your listings are getting websites built for them individually. So you can go in and you can see a details page of your listing. When you do that, it's going to pull up the listing here. It's going to show any open houses that are happening at the top. And it's a really useful feature. There's also a showcase page that is automatically built for every listing in the system. They're beautiful pages that are easy and really good selling points for your sellers. I would recommend, if you're going to a listing appointment, pulling up a couple websites and having these available. You can also always print or email flyers right from this listing screen. It's going to pull up all the just listed flyers. And if you're doing this from within the listing screen, it knows that you need to attach the listing that you're on. And it's going to insert all of the information here. You can save and email this. You can save and print it. So you can, or you can just save it. I would recommend having a campaign built that is focused on your buyers, that you're sending out all of your just listed properties to your buyers. So you can go in, you just created that flyer, you have a drip marketing campaign that is my buyers, and you add that flyer as an event. I would add that also as an item on my action plan. Where do you get the URL for each listing website? So the URL is automatically generated. And Annette, when you go into the listing, right here underneath share, if you click on the globe, it will pull up the listing. So I can go into my tools and preferences for my action plan, my just listing action plan. I may have an item that is a follow-up request that says email flyer to buyer, active buyer marketing campaign. I want that to happen the day after it's listed. Save. I need a little bit more information, Violetta. Is this option for just my listing? Are you talking about creating flyers? Is that creating flyers for just your, yep, nope, you can make a flyer for any listing. You can go to marketing and do my saved content. And much like the postcards, you can add content. And there are a ton of flyers in here. And your company may have created some as well. but I can do an e-blast just listed. I can do a property flyer just listed. Yep, and I can say, okay, I'm going to choose, I know that this was a new listing. It's not my listing. It's somebody's in the office that I'm going to borrow. I'm going to find that listing and I'm going to send it out to my buyers. Annette, did that answer your question? And thank you, Violetta, thank you for letting me know that answered yours. Let's talk about how to attach this. So I made this just listed flyer. To attach this to a campaign, I'm going to go to the marketing tab and then to my campaigns. And then I'm going to select the campaign I want to add it to. I'm going to add that event. My content. It's going to pull up all my saved content. And then I can see, here's that just listed flyer I did. And I'm going to choose the subject, new home for sale. I want to send it on tomorrow at 9 a.m. Save. And now it's part of that campaign. It's automatically going to go out to everybody that's on that campaign tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning. Other questions? So if you had a for sale by owner and you had images, you could create your own flyer, but this is pulling information from the MLS. So that automatic insert feature is pulling from the MLS. Before you do a flyer for a for sale by owner, you need to check with your broker about what your company rules are. But you can go into any of these flyers and you can add photos and change the price and change all this information. So you could create a custom flyer, yes. Before you do that though, Violetta, I would talk to your broker about if he's okay. I just don't know what the rules are in your state or in your area about that. Here in Idaho, if you're going to promote a property, you have to have an active contract. Or there has to be an active contract set somewhere with it. All right, if there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to end the recording so that y'all can get a copy of it. It will be in your inbox by about noon today. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. For those of you joining us on the next webinar we have that we're looking forward to it. I do just want to quickly share one link with y'all so that you know where to go to find, I'm on iLive. We're going to share two links. If you go to zoho.com, you can find all of our upcoming trainings. I'm going to go ahead and paste that link in the comments box. If you open it up, it will open in a separate tab. We also have a Facebook page that we would love to have you join. It's a really good place to ask questions, and we do our best to answer questions there in video form. It is called Realistic Users, and I'm posting that link as well. Does everybody know about our YouTube channel? That we do have an active YouTube channel. It's a really good place to go. All of our webinars are posted there, as well as information about step-by-step 2-minute videos on increments of what's happening. So those 3 links are in the comments box. If you want to just click on all 3, they'll open up in separate tabs on your browser so that you can utilize that information in building your business and using the CRM to its full extent.